Hello, welcome to my shop again. Well, we're in northern Michigan and it's Halloween, and we just had a nice, beautiful blanket of white snow. But don't mind that up here. We know how to handle it and deal with it, so not a problem. All right, what we're going to do today is a little walnut plate. Let's get started. Okay, we start with the crotch piece. Take the chainsaw and cut it right down the middle on the pith, with the crotch figure going to be in the top of the plate. Put it between centers and get on the balance point. We got to lift it up from there, trying to keep the plane perpendicular to the bed as we lift it up and get on the balance point. This allows to get the speed of the lathe up. I'm going to make my cut into the side of the tree, not into the end grain. It's always going to be easier to go in the side than it is in the end, so I'm going to make my pass across the tool rest and keep my bevel support in the direction of the line of my cut, flute pointing in the direction I'm going to travel, and real easy to hog off, no bouncing. Okay, the hogging off process is information gathering, so I can move this while I'm between centers. I'm going to see, well, I got a gap on one side, I got a gap on the other side, so really I don't need to move it. I can live with this so far and hog off some more and sneak up on that circumference. Again, going back to hogging off. Going fast forward here, get through this. Now we need to clean up the surface of, this is going to be the bottom of my plate where the glue block is. I just use my little finger and pull it towards me, towards the headstock. And again, let's just fast forward through this. Okay, at this point, hogging off, we want to leave that nub kind of big there. Okay, let's evaluate. Let's look at all three of the piths. The pith is gone, so I really can't see the pith, but I want to try to get the pith parallel to the table of all three. So we're going to look at the annual rings, and we're going to start counting down from the bark, and we count all the way down, and we'll pick one, let's say 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, so that annual ring is a 16th ring, and we'll find the 16th on all three. Then we'll take a pencil and compare and make sure that if we want to move it, we want to tilt it, we can tilt it. But now look at here, that's almost an eighth of an inch off. It's no big deal. We're going to leave that. That's about an eighth of an inch off on the other direction. So we're good. Now we can start roughing off the top of the plate a little bit, just to get the wobble out of there a minute and see if we can see the crotch. Okay, now we're going to clean up this bottom where we're going to put our glue block. And I've hogged off the wood there a little bit now. We're going to get that nub a little bit smaller. Whatever's left over, I've got to chisel off. And then we'll clean up that surface. I'm going to lower my handle. Watch, the handle's going to go way down now. And I'll clean that up with a shear scraping cut, close the flute, and shear scrape that nice and smooth. Then I'm going to make a little notch in there. Swing my handle away from me. Make a little divot in there. That's just a centering visual aid when I reverse it. Okay, now I've got it on the faceplate with my glue block and giving it 2-3 minutes to cure, and we're ready to turn and see what happens to the front of this plate. Okay, I'm going to go in again into the side of the tree. I'm making the sharp edge go into the side grain fibers, and I'm going to do the rim first here and get that rim cleaned up. I'm going to tuck that in and make a slight angle on the rim. Then we're going to dish out the plate part and make a little recess in there, and push cut with the bevel support. And as I'm coming across a straight flat bottom, I'm not going to swing the handle, so that I make a nice straight line, nice little taper. Hopefully I'm going to make the bottom a little bit concave or flat. I got a little bit of a hump there right now, so I'm going to take one more cut and clean that up. This is my bowl gouge. Looks like Thompson makes my gouge for me. I've got a swept back wing on there, and this is very versatile. I can do a lot of things with it. In this case, making a straight line across the bottom. So we're going to line the bevel up first. Get on the bevel. I'm going to swing the handle away from me, make that little lip there, recess down into the plate. Now I'm going to swing the handle back towards me to end up going flat across the bottom and finish off. Notice the wood is going fast and the speed of my tool across the surface is going slow. I need to do this because of the crotch figure in there. The grain's going every which way. I want to make a nice clean cut into the bottom, and so the pace across, this is real time, this is not slow motion, and it's going very slow across there. Okay, now I get a little bit too big of a cut and across that middle, so I'm going to take it in stages, take little cuts instead of big ones. All right, so now we got to make the back the same wall thickness all the way through, so we're going to sneak up on that in stages. And again, going into the side of the tree, we're going to go clean up this with a hog and off cut to begin with, and just get the rim down to its wall thickness. Probably going to make it about quarter, 3/8 of an inch wall thickness here. Okay, measure, measure, measure. I'm a little thicker towards the bottom on that rim, so I've got to take some more wood out of there. Want to be accurate with my measuring so the wall thickness is uniform. It has a nice feel, nice balance to it when we get done. Okay. Now let's stop and measure again. Close it up to 0 and look at the airspace there. Okay, now we're good. Good to go. So now we're just going to clean it up a bit and lower my handle again. You see in the lower picture how low my handle is, so I'm shear scraping again, very, very small shavings, little tiny angel hair. Clean that up so I don't have to sand much, and clean up that rim, get a nice rounded corner on the rim, again with shear scraping, very gentle, very delicate. Clean up that rim so I don't have to sand much. I don't want to have to go back later, get this all perfect before I move on to the next stage in the back. Okay, now we'll go down to the plate height and clean that up. Again, with a little pull cut this time, I'm going to take a slicing cut around this corner where the bottom of the plate matches the rim. Nice rounded. I make a nice rounded surface there, basically because I'm lazy. I don't want to have to sand a square corner or any detail, so I just make a nice smooth rounded area right there. Again, handle down in shear scraping now, cleaning it up so I don't have to sand much. Nice delicate cuts. We'll fast forward into where it's going to sit on the table now. Is the third height. Where it's going to sit on the table down in there. All right. Now this is wet wood, so I'm going to make a little reveal under here so it has a chance to dry out, and then I can sand it. All right, now we got to suit up. Don't want to get breathing sanding dust. I want to have something break and fall off and hit me. Don't want to have my drill sounding, whiny sounding with my ear protection. So everything's got to be protected here. Using a soft sanding disc, and we're going to bridge across any little tiny tool marks I might have in there by going across. Now the wood is going to be going very slow, and I keep the sandpaper slow. I'm probably starting here with about a 220 grit sandpaper, and going to take off any little tool marks, any little undulations that might be in there. Clean up the rim a little bit. Okay, I only use the coarse grits on my drill, and I'm going to switch here soon to hand sanding with the finer grits to get through the grits. 220, 320, 400, 600. Look at the sawdust. Look at the shavings coming off from sharp sandpaper. Gotta use sharp sandpaper. You all have a drawer full of sandpaper that you've used before. Throw it away. Right? We're going to cut very cleanly with sharp tools. And what sandpaper? Millions and billions of sharp little tools. So we're going to use it and move it to a new fresh part. I see a little cloudiness right there, just a little bit of a grayness, so I'm going to catch this by hand, just clean it up so that it matches the rest of it, and go through the grits. Sharp sandpaper, where I just used, throw it away. Move on to sharp sandpaper, move it to sharp sandpaper, and don't go back to that used spot. Okay, I'm going to go down all the way to 600 grit. Nice sharp sandpaper. There's no cloudiness or milkiness to it. The grain of that crotch is going to just pop when I put finish on it when I'm cutting through. Even with 600 grit sandpaper, look at the shavings coming off underneath. Okay, now we just part it off when we're done sanding. But I don't part it all the way off. Use a saw so that I have been in control of that. Now I have a little nub left over. When I reverse it, I can see where the center is. Now reversing it, I'm going to use the same block of wood there and just clean it up, make a nice soft landing. I'm going to bring my tailstock up and use a friction drive here, so I want to have a nice rounded spot there so that when I push against it, it's not going to damage the inside of my plate. Okay, nice and soft, no corners. Okay, use a leather pad or some kind of padding. I don't want the leather to stain my wood, so the paper towel is helping to protect the plate. And then bring the tailstock up. And all I'm going to do is work on this bottom area. This doesn't have to be perfectly centered. If I'm not right dead on center, it's no big deal, because I'm only going to work in the area underneath the plate. It wobbles a little bit, no harm. Okay, I'm going to work in here, get this done, do a little fast forward, get rid of the wood again, right into the side of the tree, pull in with my little finger. I've got a concave surface now, so when it sits on the table there's no hump in the middle. And then we're going to clean that up with shear scrape, lower my handle again, and shear scrape nice and clean so that take the tool marks off from my push cut. And I could be done with it right now, but I like to put a little detail underneath the bottom, make it look like it's turned. So I'm going to use my spindle gouge now with a steeper grind and just roll over a little bead on the bottom so that it looks like it's been turned and finished on the bottom. Okay, now we're going to take it off and clean up that little nub. Okay, here is the finished plate. Nice crotch figure in there, great color from the walnut. Took the little nub off, sanded the bottom after it dried out a little bit, and then polished it up. Captured the crotch nicely. All right. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and please support my sponsors, and that they make these videos possible. So thanks to Mike Hunter and Doug Thompson. See you next time.